Hello friends, and welcome back to my garden. Today I want to talk to you about the list of things that I need to get done before everything out here gets planted. So I am in zone 6A in south-ish central Indiana. We are still deep in winter right now. We are actually going to be having a polar vortex come through this weekend and early next week, so it's going to be very cold. So before that comes, I decided to come out here and shoot this video while it's 30 degrees outside and not 12 degrees outside. So it is almost, it's the beginning of February right now. I normally plant my garden in the beginning, the first or second week of May is usually what I shoot for. Now, there is some play in that. Our average last frost date is technically at the end of April, but over the last few years, I've kind of learned that that does not necessarily mean that that's gonna be the last frost date. It's normally later than that. So, I do still have some time out here before this all melts and this becomes a usable garden space again. This area next to my garage, that's my garage, the sun does not get high enough in the sky until after the spring equinox to like put light on the whole garden. So I'm actually in the shady part right now, and it will stay like this until about the end of March, early April. Now if I come down here, I can be in the sun and it's very bright. So I'm gonna take you through kind of the list of things that I need to do out here over the next couple months. Some of them are not just out here. Also, there are some things I need to do in the house, in my seed starting area in the basement. And I have a video where I talked about my indoor seed starting area, and I will put the link to that down below if you want to check it out. So this space out here is about 300 square feet of in-ground growing space. I do luckily have some pretty decent soil where I am. I don't have a lot of clay or rocks. But I do need to amend my beds. Now, I did not amend anything in the fall. I basically pulled everything up, left it in a pile back here until way too late, and then started getting rid of those plants. So I don't have a ton of composting space here. We live on a lot that's very tiny. It's less than 1/4 of an acre, and we just don't have a ton of space to dedicate to things like composting huge, like large, like tomato plants. Like I don't have the room to compost those here. So I do actually dispose of those through our city trash service or through our city yard waste service. But I did leave some stuff back here on the ground. If you were around last year, this is where my peppers were, is back here in this middle part. And that's where I piled everything up. There is still some stuff back there underneath the snow, and it's going to stay there, and I'm just going to amend it with some more compost. And that's actually where I'm going to be putting my kale and my lettuce heads for spring. So I talked about the whole garden plan last week. I'll put a link to that down below as well in case you missed that. The first thing on the list that I need to do, now these are not in any sort of like order. This is just the list as it's coming into my brain. The first thing I need to do is amend the soil back here. So last year I started a compost journey, which is a weird thing to say, but I started my own compost. Actually, I'll take you back to show you my compost. I don't have just a ton of compost. Like I said, we don't have a ton of space to dedicate to compost right now where we are. So I don't just have a ton of it, but I do have some, and I used it last year, but I did end up buying some compost in bags from Menards. And this year I'm going to have to probably buy compost again. I'm going to do some more research on some local options for compost. I have not nailed that down yet. Like, I don't know yet. But here is my own compost. So this is my compost. This is just a tub, like this is a Sterilite outdoor plastic like storage tub, and there's some good stuff in here. There is some, I need to roll this around, but there is some good stuff going on in here. It does stay pretty warm. You can see there's some condensation happening on the lid. Basically all I did was I took this tub and I drilled holes in the top and in the bottom, and I lined it with some screen to keep bugs and stuff from getting in. And basically I come out, I put stuff in here, and then I roll it around over here in this area, this gravel. That's how I stir it up. I do also have a pitchfork that I use every once in a while to give it like a good turn, but I normally just roll it around. So I need to amend my garden beds. That is something that's super important, especially when you are replanting in the same areas year after year like I am. I did not do quite enough last year, I don't think. And I do think that I could have gotten a better yield from some of my plants if I had amended my beds a little bit better. So this year my goal is to amend my beds more than I did last year. The next thing on the list is the greenhouse. So this is the greenhouse, and I have a playlist about the greenhouse as it was last year. Now this is made with just one cattle panel, so it's not huge, but again, I don't have a ton of space. This year we are going to be kind of upgrading it a little bit. I'm trying to not blind myself, but it's kind of hard. We're going to be upgrading the greenhouse a little bit. Right now the T-posts are 6 feet apart. I'm going to actually move those to be 8 feet apart and give myself a little more room in there. What I had last year worked out fine, and I really enjoyed having it. I really enjoyed being able to bring my plant starts out to the greenhouse and not have to worry about them being inside. Now with that being said, we did this on a budget last year. This whole greenhouse build was $100. It literally was like $102 was how much everything was before tax. And it worked out really well, but for this year I want to do some upgrades. I have kind of been thinking about it. I'm going to be building like a base for it and adding an actual door and some windows and stuff like that. So it's not going to be drastically different than it was, but it will be different enough to really, I think, elevate it to the point where it will be more usable and it will be easier to use. Easier to get in and out of, easier to vent the plants as I need to, and all of that. So stay tuned for that. I will definitely make a video about the upgrades I have made, or I will be making to the greenhouse, kind of the process for doing that. Now, we are in a weird time right now because lumber mills are slammed and wood prices, like lumber prices, have gone up pretty astronomically in some places. We have had fluctuations of that here. So we'll see what happens when the time comes to actually purchase the lumber and get the greenhouse upgraded. The next thing I need to do is clean out the garage. It's a mess in here. Now, this garage, our house was built in 1941. The garage was also built in 1941. The garage is the size of a car that is smaller than both of our vehicles. I used to own a Mini Cooper and it would fit in here barely. And those things are tiny. And now I drive a small SUV. So it does not fit in here, and my husband's minivan does not fit in here. So we use this as a storage shed, basically. We also own a lot of bicycles. So we are both cyclists, and so we own a lot of bikes, and we're actually adding another one this spring. I'm getting a new bike. So we have to figure out a better storage solution for that. Right now, my road bike is actually in the house. But there's still 3 bikes in here, one of them being a recumbent tandem bike. So there's a lot of stuff in here and I need to clean this out because this is where I keep most of my gardening supplies, like outdoor supplies. My Dollar Tree planter is back here and all my pots, extra fencing, extra mulch. My potting soil that I use for seed starting is out here. My shelves for the greenhouse are hanging on the wall back here. Just everything's out here. So I need to clean this up. And to piggyback off of that, I need to take this potting soil and fill all my pots for seed starting. I have not done that yet. I still have some time. I'm going to be starting peppers in a couple weeks, but those will be started in coffee filters and then transplanted to pots later. So I do still have some time to get my pots filled. I won't start tomatoes until probably mid-March, so I have more time for those. But I need to get my potting soil like in a better container than the bag that it comes in so I can get to it easier and get that stuff ready to be added to pots, basically. Okay, and the last thing, well, not really the last thing, but the last big thing on the list of stuff I need to do before planting time has to do with this area right here next to our fence. So we just have this one panel of fence that separates our yard from the alley next to it, and I am going to be using this area this year to plant in, not in the ground. I'm going to be doing some raised planter beds of some sort. I haven't really decided on what I'm doing yet. I'm going to be moving my strawberry patch over into this area. Now my strawberry patch right now is huge. It's taking over the whole garden pretty much, which is why it needs to move, because it can't do that. I also have arthritis in my knee from a bicycle accident that I had in September of 2019. So I struggle kind of like squatting down and picking strawberries. So I'm going to be moving those out of the in-ground garden and putting them in something that's off the ground. I don't know what that's going to be yet. I have kind of explored the possibility of using stock tanks, like the 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot stock tanks. I have looked at like raised planter beds with like legs that they have some at Sam's Club you can buy that have like a self-watering feature. I've kind of looked at those. I don't really know what I want to do yet, but something over here is going to appear. I'm actually going to pull, I have paver stones down in the in-ground garden that I'm going to be pulling up, and I'm going to hopefully be able to pull up the sod over here and put some stones down to put the beds on so they're not just sitting on the grass and then we have to mow around them and all that. So I need to figure something else out to put over here. I don't know what, I don't know. I'm leaning towards stock tanks. I'm hoping that maybe I can find some used that I can buy off someone so I don't have to buy new ones. But I don't know. They'll last a long time, so maybe I will just buy new ones. I don't know. I don't know yet. So if you garden in raised beds, something that's not just like a foot off the ground, but like a couple feet off the ground, I am totally open to suggestion. Back when we first moved here, we did have a couple raised garden beds over here, and they were a foot tall. They weren't super tall. They basically just were a house for dirt to sit so I could plant in them. And I'm looking for something that is not necessarily dirt sitting on the ground, if that makes sense. Like a stock tank would have a bottom, or those raised beds from Sam's Club have a bottom. So I'm open to suggestions. If anyone has suggestions, leave them in the comments below, because I would love to hear them for this area. I'm also going to probably do a bed that has some like broadsown lettuce and some onion sets planted in it. So that's also a thought to keep in mind. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards the like 2 foot depth for things like onions. I don't know. And the last thing I need to do is I'm going to be changing the name of my YouTube channel. And this actually might be the first thing I do of this list. So when I started this channel almost 2 years ago, I had ideas and kind of some lofty goals that I set. And now, almost 2 years later, those things have kind of changed. I am doing more gardening content. I'm doing all gardening content and less life content. If you go way back in the channel, there are some videos about training for running a half marathon. I did kind of a series about training for a half marathon, of my experience and all of that. And I have kind of shifted gears away from more of a lifestyle vlogging into more of a gardening centered channel. So I am going to be changing the name of my channel, and nothing else will change. The content will stay the same, just the name will change and the logo up at the top, in the banner and the little logo in the corner. So right now my channel is Life with Lynn Tom. That's just kind of a general umbrella name I came up with, but like I said, things have kind of shifted into being more garden centric and 99% garden focused content. So because of that, I'm going to be changing the name of my channel to Gardens by Lindsay, because that's me. That is actually the name I'm kind of using for when I do sell my extra plant starts in the spring. I am a graphic designer, and so I have the skills. I made a logo and all of that. So the name of the channel will be changing. It actually may be changed when this video comes out. I don't know. We'll see. Those are kind of the things that I need to do before, really before like May. Some of them need to happen before others, like getting the pots filled for seed starts needs to happen like pretty soon. And getting the greenhouse upgraded needs to happen like next month in March. Hopefully this gives you some inspiration to use in your own garden. And if you have something else that you think would be cool to see, let me know. I am always open to ideas. I want to know what you guys want to learn about. I love to learn new things also. And so let's go on this journey together. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.